This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guests only. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Welcome to Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces. Linda Major, Jack Major, and Ellen Bennett are three fierce advocates, two moms and a dad who are passionate about changing the way eating disorders and mental illness are viewed in our society. Linda, Jack, and Ellen believe we need to stop the stigma, band together, and help people find resources and support early on. They advocate to foster awareness, enhance education, and improve treatment, as well as to help society understand and embrace individuals and families who are affected by eating disorders and all mental health conditions.
Welcome to Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces, episode 106, Repairing Relationships with Food, Exercise, and Our Bodies with Dietitian Jen Haefele, who will be joining us in just a few minutes. I'd like to welcome you all for being here with us today. Our special guest will be here shortly, as I said, but first I'd like to introduce my co-host, my husband and my soulmate, Jack Major, and our dear friend and fellow advocate, Ellen Bennett.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Ellen. It seems like it's been a while since we've been together, and it's great to be here. Well, obviously, I've been together with Linda because we live in the same house. But Ellen, haven't seen you in a while, and it's great to see you. And how's the new house?
Loving it. It's awesome. I also am so glad to be back and want to welcome everybody to join us again for our conversations. They're so important, and we really are hoping to provide a diverse selection of topics for everybody.
So welcome to our listeners today. And remember, all the links for today's podcast will be in the show notes.
So I would like to talk to you guys a second because I found a quote that I really like, and I believe that we become our best selves by nurturing and respecting and loving the bodies we've been given, right? So I'd like to know what you think of the quote that I found. It's healthy is an outfit that looks different on everybody. Simple, sweet. What do you guys think?
Healthy is an outfit that looks different on everybody. Well, we're sitting around this table and we all look different. And
we are all healthy.
We are all healthy, but, society today and for quite a while now, I think has put a lot of pressure on what people look like or think they're supposed to look like. So I think that's one of the reasons we're here today, to dispel that you have your body and
it's a miracle.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to reframe our thinking in that healthy looks different on everybody. And we need to really take a look at that and talk about it and embrace everybody's differences and uniqueness and move away from those perceptions and perceived the way it should be or expectations that really are damaging. I love it. It's a great phrase.
Well, I'd like to read our guest's bio. Her name is Jennifer Haefele, registered dietitian and nutritionist specializing in eating disorders, disordered eating, and intuitive eating. She is the owner of RDN Jen. Her private practice that specializes in helping individuals heal their relationship with their food, their body, and themselves. Jen holds a Bachelor of Arts in French, Anthropology, and Communication Media Production from the State University of New York at New Paltz, and a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition Management from the Rochester Institute of Technology, and she completed her dietetic internship at the University of Buffalo. She holds an advanced designation of Certified Eating Disorders Registered Dietitian from the International Association of Eating Disorders Professionals and is currently working on becoming a Certified Intuitive Eating Counselor. Jen is also active in the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics at both the national and state level, as well as the Genesee Dietetic Association. Welcome, Jen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jen. Thank you for being here with us today. And that's quite a bio. That's very impressive.
Jen, we are so excited to have you here. And through my journey, I certainly have learned how important the dietitian is for many, many mental health issues, particularly eating disorders. Will you take a minute and share more about your background, education, and training? Explain your role as a dietitian and why you decided to pursue this career, and what led you to branch out into private practice, which is really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like my bio kind of highlights a primary prerequisite for being a dietitian, which is being a nerd. RD is even built in that word. So I really like school and I like learning. But to directly answer the question, what got me into nutrition, I actually thought I wanted to make movies. And I realized just how long a day it would be to be on my feet for 14 hours starting in New York City as even an assistant. And at some point in kind of figuring out that's not what I wanted to do, I started working with a dietitian myself and realized what a significant impact I could have on other people through that career. And I remember walking into her office and saying, I want to do what you do. And she just looked at me and said, well, you can't do it at New Paltz, so you'd have to go back to school. And I just thought on that for a while. So I graduated and I took a year off and thought about it. And then I did a year at MCC and I thought about it. And then finally at RIT was able to really dive into becoming a dietitian. And there's this joke about how can you tell a dietitian from a nutritionist? And it's a dietitian has way more student loans. It takes a lot of work to become a dietitian. So I really wanted to make sure it was something that I felt passionate about. And when I graduated, I was really lucky that I matched with my internship of choice. And just as luck would have it, the first placement that I had in my internship was working at the partial hospitalization and intensive outpatient level of care for eating disorder recovery. And I had gone in thinking, okay, this will be interesting. I'll see what happens. And I fell in love with it. I think my cohort in my internship were so tired of hearing me talk about how fascinating it was and all of the progress that the patients there were making. And they were like, okay, Jen, yeah, sure. Can we talk about something besides eating disorders now? And
we're glad you kept talking about it.
So I ended up getting offered a job at that particular facility and then spent 4 years at that particular level of care and realized I wanted to stay there. It's the field that I feel really passionate about.
I love that. And I think you're helping share the training and background and knowledge and importance of dietitians and the training and the information that they share with us. Unless you are directly impacted by working with a dietitian, you really don't realize. And so thank you for what you do in raising our awareness about dietitians.
And being so passionate about it. And, a lot of people don't find their calling, so.
For sure took a while.
Yeah.
And a lot of school.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's what really, when you were talking, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
You found something and you grabbed onto it and you said, this is me. This is what I need to do, which is incredible.
Yeah,
And just as an aside, if you get the itch to make movies again, our producer, Scott Fitzgerald, just recently produced and directed a movie called Bottom Feeder. So
I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, there are no coincidences. So.
Yeah.
So Jen, there's so many illnesses out there that a dietitian comes into the part of the treatment team, from people with heart issues, diabetes, of course, and the eating disorders, anorexia, binge eating, and even people that have the bariatric surgeries. So can you give us examples of what the benefits are of having a dietitian on that treatment team?
Yeah, I would love to be able to give specific examples. And at the same time, I think the one that was most poignant to me as I was kind of thinking about it is just very simply that dietitians are the experts on how food can impact someone's pursuit of health or in their management of a chronic condition. And in doing some more reading about kind of the training that physicians get, I stumbled across a report that was on Harvard's website about how most medical doctors get less than 25 hours of nutrition education across their entire medical career. And while doctors are amazing, they have a lot of other stuff that they can be counseling around and offering support around. And so why not refer out to a dietitian who can offer a more specialized and honestly a more individualized approach around specific chronic conditions. I've worked with a variety of patients who have said, like, my doctor just told me stop eating X, and that's all the education I got. And so we talk about, what's the purpose behind not eating X? Do you want to eat X? How can we make X kind of be present in your life and balance it out so that you're able to manage this particular condition, but not have it spiral into, well, I've eliminated X and it's not working, and now eliminate X and Y. So I think that for me would be the primary benefit of adding a dietitian to the team and being able to really round out the care that you're getting. So it's not so focused on the 15-minute physician sessions.
Yeah. I think, people, when they think of doctors, they say, well, doctors know everything. I'm going to go to the doctor and I have this going on and he's going to fix it. And, maybe years ago, I remember, our family doctor, he did everything. And my father had a lot of chronic conditions, but he didn't go to specialists or anybody. It was just the primary care doctor who did it all. So, but thank God we've evolved into realizing that the doctor doesn't know it all and needs help.
Doesn't have to know it all, because we have other people who have specialized in these careers. I think it's also must be very helpful for somebody who has had heart disease or bariatric surgery, and have to stick to a healthier diet. And I think it helps people probably to stay on track if they have somebody educated to oversee them in the process and be accountable to.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if there's maybe a way to reframe the healthy piece. So like more specialized diet, just so that we're not necessarily putting healthy on. If someone has heart disease, they're eating healthy compared to the way that everybody else eats. I feel like that's something that sometimes gets thrown out there, and then dependent on who hears it can be really transformed into, well, what does healthy look like? What can I eliminate?
Right. So you're going to have to help us with our language going forward. So feel free to correct us. So we're always striving for balance in daily living. We have come to understand that extreme overeating and undereating are related to the individual's inability to regulate their emotions and stress. We also know that past trauma can have a profound effect. In addition to counseling and medical care, what practices have you found to be helpful in helping people process their emotions in a healthier way?
I feel like your question just highlights the answer. Done. Medical care, counseling. Just kidding. For sure, counseling is a really big one. And I feel like, thankfully, with the shift in mental health that we've seen due to COVID, it's become a little bit more normalized, and people are really accepting that it's okay to talk about things that previously were quote unquote off limits. But nutrition can also intersect with both of those fields. And so there are things that might be specific to someone that can help along the way. So the biggest one that comes to my mind is kind of asking why. Like, why is this particular thing happening? How is it related to food even? Or with the patients who I've worked with at higher levels of care, my personal favorite things to say to them are, you need to eat enough. And yes, you need to eat enough carbohydrates. And they'll just look at me as if I've said something very blasphemy oriented. And when I explain, if we're not eating enough, our brain flips a switch and we go into survival mode. Or if we're not eating enough carbohydrates, then we're not getting enough serotonin produced, which can impact the efficacy of medications or how we're engaging in therapy. They just look at me again like my head has exploded. So nutrition for sure can help support both of those aspects of managing mental health and managing trauma. But I'll be the first one to say, like, trauma is not my area of focus, and I'm not under any misapprehension that I'm going to dive into someone's trauma work in nutrition therapy. But other things that I found helpful are just really connecting with other people and being able to connect with your sense of self, with people who are in your life, and being able to connect with your body in a way that feels good.
Yeah, this COVID, every day you see an article about how COVID has disconnected so many people, and how, you know, the mental health crisis, which was a crisis before, you know, is just exploded now into really dangerous. I mean, the people that are struggling out there and not getting the help they need. Do you think that the Zoom meetings and stuff have brought more people out? They're more comfortable than meeting you in person, or, you know, any practitioner in person?
Yeah, I think it just generally makes it more accessible. I know I have clients who are across the state, not even within 5 hours of driving to meet with me. And virtual telehealth has really opened up the door for people to be able to connect to clinicians and practitioners who they vibe with, instead of just who's nearby or who takes my insurance in this particular area. I've also had people share, like, if they have kids, for instance, getting a babysitter, getting in the car, leaving, going through the meltdown, finally leaving for real, not just the first time. Like, that's a process. And so being able to say, okay, here's a tablet, I'll be back in an hour. Let me know if anything's desperately wrong. But that cuts out an hour of that time thinking about getting there, or if someone's sick, or if the babysitter cancels. So it's not only made it more accessible in terms of finding the best match, but being able to make it work in life.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I'm sure when they start talking to you, they feel very comfortable.
I hope so.
And understand that you really, really care.
Well, compassion is so important, to feel safe and connected to somebody who wants to help you. People that do that in all facets of medical care truly are angels.
Oh, that's a sweet way
Lifesavers.
to put it.
Yeah. Truly having that person who will listen and understand and get it and work to find ways to incorporate, whether it's favorite foods or maybe not the healthiest food, but however it needs to be done is critical when you're talking about somebody's diet and their nutrition plan. And this whole conversation kind of resonated with me. I mean, oh my God, my mom was diabetic. And so her connection with a dietitian and her meal planning became a family thing. You know, we all had to understand and be aware. I've had heart issues, and going to a dietitian was part of my recovery. And so, and then that spun into, oh my gosh, probably almost all of us at some point in our life will have a need to work with a dietitian. Not to mention my experience with dietitians with my daughter's eating disorder. The dietitian became, like the angel who came in and explained a lot of things. And when the angels were really good, they were like magic. And sometimes because, eating disorders are specialized, and there are specific things that you need to know and understand when working with that, particularly with a dietitian. So to have someone who's focused in that area and understands and gets it is another thing. So I think we all need to stop and think, oh my gosh, at some point in our life, we're all going to need a dietitian. I've already needed a dietitian numerous times, and have been incredibly thankful when I had my heart issues and they were like, okay, you have to change 3 major aspects of your life: activity, food, and I don't even remember what the other one, but it was overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when we're faced with these medical challenges, it's hugely overwhelming. And you need a Jen. Yeah. You need a Jen. Okay, now that I've babbled, my next question is meal planning. I know how important it was to us and to me. It's essential, but it's got to be challenging. When you work with individuals who have so many different dietary needs and preferences, how do you keep the patient motivated to stay on track? I know there were times when I lost motivation and needed to be inspired to keep working towards that goal. This is about my health. Mm-hmm. This is about being my best. This is what's good for me. And the second thing is, how can families help? We need to know how to help our loved ones when they have dietary needs that are critical for their health and their well-being. So, anything you want to comment about that? All serious stuff is all good with me.
Yeah. So, I want to let you in on a secret. I actually really hate meal plans, but they are pretty essential for most people at some point in time. So really validating. They're annoying. They're so annoying, and yet they can produce so many great benefits. So thinking about meal plans and eating disorder recovery, for instance, they support the healing process of the body. They support someone maybe restoring weight to get to a point where psychiatric medication or medical interventions can actually be accessible. And they're temporary in eating disorder recovery, and they're setting the stage in order to move into someone being able to lean into trusting their body to adequately fuel themselves. And they're not meant to be rigid. They're meant to begin to produce flexibility. So moving away from some of the rules and some of the challenges that the eating disorder really brings in, and reminding people like ice cream fits, chocolate fits. You don't have to have XYZ food every single day. There's an opportunity for variety. And then thinking about kind of the skills that those of us who eat intuitively and listen to our bodies are able to implement, making sure that we're getting enough. So an adequate amount of nutrition, balanced nutrition, getting the macronutrients and micronutrients that we're needing, eating throughout the day when we're feeling hungry, getting variety, being flexible. So if plans change, or maybe accidentally you burn something, not saying that was me this morning, but being able to be flexible in what you had planned for the day. Those are skills that a meal plan can really help someone relearn, or really feel confident in as they begin to move towards being more autonomous in their eating and laying the foundation, if they want to move towards intuitive eating. So in terms of motivations for patients, clients, families, it honestly depends on the person. Some people like a reminder of the why. Why are you doing this? What are you working towards? What's the purpose of this? And some people like to really process out what's challenging about it. Is it feeling like it's a rule? How can we address that? Is it feeling like it doesn't fit with your life? I've met with a decent number of students right now who, when they step down from a program, they have maybe 3 meals and 3 snacks. And unfortunately, with COVID regulations, they can't eat in class anymore. They maybe don't have a study hall built into their day because they need to make up classes from last year that didn't go so well. So how can we take the amount of energy and nutrition that they're needing and make it fit into a school schedule? So those are things to begin to think about. And I think the most effective thing that I've experienced is really just validating, like, meal plans are necessary, but they're not. They don't have to be fun. You don't have to like it. It's not a rule that you have to like have balloons and glitter and butterflies. around meal plans.
Very well said.
Just saying.
Yeah. And so did you say that they need to be more individualizalized? I mean,
Yeah.
So give, especially with people with eating disorders. I mean,
Well, probably for everybody who has a, the need for a dietitian's knowledge and I want to say intervention. That's not the right word.
We all have preferences, and we all have those. Yeah. So no matter what the issue is, I think dietitians have to be incredibly creative.
Yes, and we all want to. Food is a big part of life, and if you have to tailor your diet a little bit because of whatever medical situation you're dealing with, you still want it to taste good and be fun, and and you want to be able to eat with everybody else and not make a big deal of it, and I'm sure that you help people assimilate into that role and keep it social and tasty.
Yeah. Yep. The number of times I've talked about what normal eating is, it's just really interesting to me to watch people's faces as we open that dialogue of normal eating can be actually eating past the point of fullness because you're going to have to go 6 hours or 7 hours without eating again due to a work schedule. And that's a really individualized approach. Or someone who maybe is working a 12-hour shift as a nurse. Like lots of different things come into play. And I like what you said, Ellen, about being creative the number of times that someone has said, no, that's not going to work. I'm like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. We'll figure something else out.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I'm a pharmacist and, for the last 40 some odd years. And I worked 12-hour shifts and we didn't get a break. We stood on our feet for 12 hours and ate whenever we had the opportunity to eat half a sandwich and then put it down and go back. And then it was crazy. So I'd get home years ago when I first started, I was working 9 to 10.
Yes, we would have dinner at 10 o'clock at night
10
because we
o'clock
wanted
at
to
night.
eat together, which probably wasn't very healthy. But
no, it wasn't.
But we had to eat.
So, then when Emily became a pharmacist and worked those same kind of hours and she had, an eating disorder, how messed up was that for her?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I just want to go back to touching base with how can families be supportive when you're working with an individual, because it's so key.
Yeah. So I think the validating the feelings around the meal plan is a really big first step. I like what you all said about dietitians being angels. That's such a great perspective from 3 parents sitting with me. And at the same time, I hear exactly the opposite from patients. So I'll tell people when I work with them, you don't have to like the meal plan. You don't have to like me. I hope that you can trust that this is coming from a place of me wanting to prescribe what's best. I don't make recommendations that I don't get behind. I don't make recommendations for funsies or to ruin your life. There's 100% a purpose behind this. And I've told parents, you can throw me under the bus. It's fine. And really establishing like this is for health and this is also for your relationship with food. So beyond that, I would say it honestly does depend on the person. I've had a lot of teenage eye rolls around like, this is so stupid. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's stupid. How can we make it less stupid? So really just, saying, yeah, you're allowed to feel what you're feeling about this. And how can we work together as a team to do it? Yeah, I guess just reflecting too over even offering meal support, being really patient, being really understanding, and recognizing that it's kind of like if someone had a fear of snakes, hypothetically, that's me. Oh, I'm not the only one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
I can't even think about them. Oh.
Yeah, I always self-identify as like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Exactly.
But if someone has a fear of snakes and you put a snake in front of them, it's terrifying. And so really just sitting with it and asking, okay, how can we do this? What's helpful? Can I help distract you? Can we talk? Can we listen to music? Can you close your eyes and not even look at it? And that's kind of the level of fear that people who are struggling with an eating disorder and have to follow a meal plan are experiencing. So trying not to think about it as you have to eat this, eat it, and things will get better. But the thought process behind like, this is really scary, and how can we get through this really scary thing together?
Oh my God. I thought about the same thing, that, it's terrifying. I saw it with Emily when she was in the hospital, and they told her she had to finish her other half bottle of Ensure, and she was just shaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
The other side of the spectrum is, say, following, and I probably shouldn't say spectrum, or another issue, following bariatric surgery, dietitian is critical. I have a dear friend who went through that, and the follow-up is critical for your health and continued well-being. And so modifying your intake your eating schedule to take lots of small meals, and so that, dealing with that, do you have any thoughts on that side?
On bariatric nutrition, I shadowed a wonderful dietitian who worked with one of the local bariatric programs and bariatric surgery programs, and I really enjoyed working with her. And she took a very similar approach to what I try and do with my clients who I work with now, which is explaining why. Why am I asking you to do this? What happens if you don't do this? Not as a scare tactic, but more so as, here's the information that you need in order to understand what bariatric surgery means and what the nutrition aspect means and how it's going to impact the rest of your life. So sometimes people feel like they're in a hurry to get the surgery done because, I need to get healthy, and this is the thing that my doctor is recommending. And it can be challenging to kind of recognize taking their current eating patterns and completely changing them, and doing very interesting things like not drinking through straws anymore, because it has the potential to lead to air pockets in the stomach and stretch the stomach pouch, is a really big shift for people to understand and really implement. I try and be really gentle with people who have undergone bariatric surgery, because I also recognize that those who are being recommended have potentially gone through a medical system where there's a lot of shame and a lot of blame and a lot of guilt around, quote unquote, how did you let yourself get this far? Even if that's not explicitly said, it for sure can be internalized. And so not saying, why didn't you do it this way, but really coming alongside and saying, how can we make this work? How can we get you to enjoy the foods that you're being asked to eat? How can we get you to feel a little bit more comfortable in your body with this pretty significant change? So I don't want to give any explicit nutrition recommendations, just in case someone who's listening might feel triggered by that. But just really, really generally seeing someone as a person, not a bariatric. I've heard that term thrown around, and it's not my personal preference. It's someone who's gone through bariatric surgery. So that someone has wants, needs, feelings, desires.
Well, right. Just when somebody has cancer, you don't call them a cancer, but yet when somebody has anorexia, you call them an anorexic. Mm-hmm. It's just our language, has to shift, and we have to think about it more, and it's unconscious for a lot of us.
Yeah, they're terms that we've heard thrown around for a while, so it can for sure be a different shift to say someone who's struggling with anorexia or someone who is experiencing diabetes, whatever that wording is for you.
Mm-hmm. So today we hear health at every size, and it seems to be more of a conversation now than ever before. Can you explain why that's become such a conversation?
I can promise to do my best. I feel like it's such a nuanced subject, and there's so much to go into. I could keep you here for hours, and I don't think we want to be here for hours. But very simply put, health at every size, or HAES, is kind of that acronym that it's shortened to, values body diversity and lived experience as integral parts of medical treatment, and also looks at research that shows us that bodies can be healthy regardless of weight. So for many years, the medical community has used weight to indicate someone's overall health, and I think that we can recognize that weight on its own isn't a true indicator of someone's health status. However, using weight as a means to suggest health is really, really simplistic. And it's kind of similar to if we were to take someone's albumin level. So that's a lab value that measures stored protein and say like, oh, someone's healthy based on an albumin level of 3.0. When in actuality, we have no idea what else is going on with that person. So similarly, weight, if we take that out of context, we don't know what's going on with someone. I saw this really great Instagram post a couple months ago that said, significant weight loss in the context of hospitalization is seen as malnutrition, but significant weight loss outside of the context of the hospital is seen as health.
Interesting.
And it just hit me in such a special place. And I can't count the number of times I've had clients come in and say, I have a really significant eating disorder. I'm experiencing these symptoms and my doctor's praising me on my weight loss. And someone literally just said that to me the other day. They've lost a significant amount of weight due to their eating disorder. And their physician told them, good job.
Oh, come on.
I wanted to bang my head against the wall. I was so mad.
We all have a collective scream going on inside the studio.
So, Health at Every Size really asks, what are some other ways that we can look at health? Is there even a true metric for what health is for everyone? So bringing it back to that quote in the beginning, health is an outfit that looks different on everybody. Health is an outfit that looks different on every body. And really looking at that piece of it allows us to provide a higher level of medical care so that when clients walk into an office and a nurse makes a comment about someone's weight, they're not immediately like, I never want to come back here again because I'm so embarrassed. I know I've had clients who have gone in for strep throat and have been told that they need to lose weight.
Well, the first thing they do is you walk down the hall, get on the scale.
Yep.
And I don't do it anymore. I say, no,
People don't, this is important. People don't realize that you don't have to get weighed for your physical when you go in, and people don't realize that keeps people from going to the doctor if they're heavier. And yes, a doctor can tell a lot just by sitting down and talking to you, you know, and looking at you. But I do think probably the whole society needs to just maybe get rid of the scale. I don't know.
Well, it's a lot of it's a checklist for the insurance company too.
Right.
Yeah.
But isn't it crazy that you can go in for a physical and decline a weight and you'll still get a very similar response from your physician? Like, it's not like they're going to diagnose you with anything new and different without the weight. It's not like they're not going to bill your insurance company without a weight. They're able to manage that entire appointment without that particular piece of information. If they do need it, they can say that to you, like, I would like this and here's why, but it's not something that is really going into what they're saying in that particular moment. So like with strep throat, for instance, there's no reason why that would be necessary. So why is it a thing? And I think that's another piece of the Health at Every Size movement of really allowing clients, really allowing ourselves to be the captains of our own treatment, whether that's in a doctor's office or whether that's in therapy. We are the ones who are experts of our own experience, and we have the ability to communicate what we're wanting or needing.
Mm-hmm. So my next question we've kind of already answered, but certainly I think we all agree that COVID has affected everyone's mental health to some degree. And we believe that connection is so important in keeping all of us mentally healthy. And that's never been more apparent than now. So many young people, so many people of every age have been impacted. And I think the young and the old, more elderly people were probably more impacted than anybody else. But everyone has been impacted. So I think that we just can never discount the importance of connection and staying healthy and strong. Should I not say healthy and strong?
Healthy works.
Okay. So my question is a little bit about your practice. Can you tell us, do you just see patients with eating disorders? Do you, are you broader than that? Do you work with people with diabetes? I know from your bio that you were part of the was it the Genesee
Yeah, the Genesee Dietetic Association.
Just tell us a little bit about the array of patients that you see.
Yeah, so I for sure specialize in eating disorders, disordered eating, and the intuitive eating because there are so few of us out there who do and can approach it from a really weight neutral way and a really therapy oriented way. I'm not saying that I'm a therapist, more so I've worked really hard on my counseling skills and my ability to sit with some challenging emotions. And I know I've spoken with my colleagues who are like, I could never do what you do. That would be too much for me. And I think about some of the things that my colleagues do, and I feel the same way. I don't want to calculate tube feeds in the hospital. Pass. That's just not my thing. But in terms of my private practice, even though I do specialize in eating disorders and disordered eating, that doesn't mean that those are seen in isolation. So I could have someone come to me with binge eating disorder, for example, and then they also tell me I have type 2 diabetes. So I really have to be on my game in terms of being able to balance out those two things. That being said, if someone came to me and said, I have diabetes and not an eating disorder, I wouldn't be like, nope, get out. It just so happens that the majority of people I see do experience either an eating disorder or disordered eating. But I also have been working with women who are pregnant and really just wanting to make sure that any eating thoughts that pop up while they're pregnant don't transition into disordered eating or an eating disorder. It's really incredible that with COVID, unfortunately, there have been some negative things that have happened. And at the same time, it's brought to light a lot of the mental health stuff that has the potential to happen. And people are being a lot more proactive. So that's been a really incredible experience to talk with future moms about, why are you eating this way? Or you were diagnosed with gestational diabetes and your doctor told you don't eat any carbs. That's not exactly true. You need those. How can we implement them in a way that feels good so that your baby's growing the way that your baby needs to grow and that you're getting the nutrients that you need? So to really elongate that answer, yes, I work with people who don't have eating disorders.
What's the age range?
Let's see here. Generally, I think my youngest person right now is like 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. And then maybe 65.
Yeah. It's a big range of ages, you know. It's people don't realize that.
I love this conversation. And I have to ask you, will you please explain? Oh, I'm walking away from the mic, talking to the side. Jen, disordered eating. It is something another thing I want to scream from the rooftops, that disordered eating is real. And we all need a common understanding. So if you can kind of tell us a little bit more.
Yeah. Was not expecting that question, but that is such a good question that I don't think I've literally ever been asked. Yeah, I guess I'll answer that one.
Okay.
So if we're looking at the term eating disorder, we can start there. Eating disorders are diagnosed through the DSM-5, so the diagnostic manual that most mental health diagnoses are taken from. So really super generally, disordered eating would be things that are close to an eating disorder, but not necessarily an eating disorder. And I want to be very transparent. That's a pretty big generalization. But in terms of how it could be seen, it could be that maybe someone is really scared of things that aren't organic. And that could be because their family has a history of cancer, and that's really scary. It could be not eating for that 12-hour shift and then getting all of the nutrition that they need at the end of the day. So not necessarily binge eating per se, but disordered in a sense of that's not traditionally the way that humans have eaten. It also could be the avoidal of one specific food group. And I love having this conversation with adolescents because they'll say like, oh, well, I don't like tomatoes. Does that mean I have an eating disorder? No, it means you don't like tomatoes. It's okay to not like tomatoes. But if you're avoiding all vegetables because you don't like tomatoes, that's a different story. So it can impact people or present with people in different ways. But it doesn't necessarily fit into the criteria of the DSM.
Thank you. Thank you. I just think it's so important for people to be aware of that. Okay, I'm going to ask the question I'm supposed to ask. Back on track now. Intuitive eating. We hear that more and more. And in the news, what exactly is intuitive eating? I think I'm intrigued. I think I know a little bit about it, but I probably don't. But
That's why
it
Jen's
sounds
here.
good. Yes, exactly. And it sounds like a really good thing.
It sounds like a no-brainer, but obviously it's not.
We need you.
So, intuitive eating is a research-proven method of eating that allows people to connect with their bodies and connect with the signals that their body is sending them in order to be able to adequately fuel themselves. And when I say adequately fuel themselves, I mean both from a physical sense and from an emotional sense. So intuitive eating has been in the news in both really positive ways. Evelyn Tribbley and Elise Risch just released the 4th edition of intuitive eating last year. So it's been in the news for that reason. But also it's been co-opted by some dieting companies, and they'll say it's eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full, which is a very, very generalized way of saying it. But also the purpose of intuitive eating isn't to change your weight. The purpose of intuitive eating is to grab onto the signals that your body is sending you. So really connecting with, how are you feeling? Are you hungry? What are you hungry for? And it can be a process for people because there are different life experiences that have trained us to eat in a certain way. So for instance, adolescents who have, let's say, lunch, air quotes, lunch at 10:15 because of their schedule, they need to eat something at that point, and they might over the weekend feel hungry at 10:15 because their body has been used to eating lunch at 10:15. Or for instance, someone who works a really stressful job, maybe they gravitate towards something higher in carbohydrates at the end of the day. And there's a lot of shame, blame, guilt around that. Understanding like, oh, you're stressed and this tastes really good and this is something that you're enjoying. That can be normal. So a lot more goes into it than just saying like, yeah, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We kind of need to have that thinking.
Well, just connecting with our bodies is why yoga is so wonderful, and mindfulness and all those things that are old are new again, and we're rediscovering them as a culture. And I think that they will help all of us to be more connected to our bodies, our emotions, our feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, and you went back to, doctors get less than 25 hours of training in their whole medical career. They get very little training in eating disorders and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's just so important that there's young people like you who are so passionate and compassionate and care about helping people that are going to change the way we treat many illnesses that have that are treatable diseases, as I was told, but were treated wrong.
We have to do better. And that's
better.
why we're doing this podcast, right? We're all learning together by wonderful people like Jen.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks.
Jen RDN. I just love that. That is the name of her business.
So this has been a great hour here, and And I'm so impressed by you, Jen. I didn't meet you before, and you're an angel. You really are. So is there anything else you'd like us to know, and something you'd like to leave us with?
I just want to thank you for saying that I was young, first and foremost. The number of times I've been told that I was old by clients. I appreciate being called young.
Well, I'm 69, so I have a young wife.
I like what you said about things that were being treated, but maybe treated wrong. And it brings me to this phrase of do the best that you can with what you know today. And then another one that one of the dietitians who I've worked with in the past through supervision, when we know better, we do better. And just throwing that out there for parents as well as potentially any clinicians who are listening, just to throw this out there, there's no shame in terms of not knowing. And wouldn't it create such a less stressful and a better experience, both for clinicians and parents and clients, if we all kind of took the opportunity to just say, we're doing the best that we can, and how can we learn? How can we grow? What are the next best steps in order to provide a higher level of care or more support? So just throwing it out there that even if you, hand in the air included, I'm in this, even if you call yourself an expert, there's always room to continue to learn and continue to learn from those you treat, which is what I strive to do.
And you do. And I always say it's important to do your best, but your best is different on any given day, just depending on the energy that you have. And it's okay. We have to just be gentle with ourselves. So thank you so much. This has just been wonderful, Jen. What a wonderful contribution you have made to each of us and to our listeners too. Listeners out there, thank you for hanging in there with us and tuning in. We hope you'll be back again and help us spread awareness and compassion for those with all mental health conditions by rating and reviewing this podcast on the platform that you're listening to it on. We'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Jen, I just have to say that I am so impressed with your compassion, and you validate, you listen, you talk about working together and meeting your clients where they are, and we're all learning, and it's so true. And I think if we all walk away with a little nugget from this show that it just says, appreciate where you're at and learn and grow each and every day. Hey, those who are listening, tell your friends and family about Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces. Rate, review, and share. We're so glad you listened.
And we wouldn't be able to do this without our talented sound engineer. So thank you to Scott Fitzgerald of Rockbox Recording and Production for his wonderful expertly producing this podcast and being our friend.